I think that there's a sentence in the book of Chronicles. I was always intrigued by this sentence. I'd like to share an interpretation. I don't know. I hope it's okay to say. My father was a great rabbi, so I'm allowed certain levels of poetic expression. There's a sentence in the book of Chronicles, the sentence in the first chapter of the last book of the Bible. It's in Perek Aleph, Pasuk, I believe, Kav Zayin. Chronicles 1, chapter 1, verse 27, where it says, Avram, hu Avraham. Avram, hu Avraham. Now, I know what the simple interpretation of the text is. Abram, that was the name before his name was changed. Hu Avraham. You know, I don't think they're two different people. Avram, Aleph, Bet, Resh, Mem, equals Avraham. Because we learned about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu God changed Avram's name to Avraham. That's a simple interpretation. I would like to suggest that maybe Avram, who Avraham means, that he actually carried it out. There was a mission. Become Avram. Lech-Lecha. Become you. You're Avram. Well, maybe part of Avram being Avram is Avram has to be Avraham. Okay, Avram, who Avraham. Abraham, you have to be Abraham. Avraham, you have a certain kind of mission which nobody else in the world has. And maybe the sense, I know it's not the simple interpretation of the text in Divrei, maybe it means he did it. Avram, hu Avraham. And maybe the reason why each of the fathers has a different specialty. Did you ever wonder why Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob? And we always speak about Avraham excelling in the area of kindness. And Yitzchak excelling in the area of what? Gevura or strength, yes, or
self-control.
Avodah, right? Yes, different forms of service of God, and Yaakov in the area of truth. Titein emet Yaakov, or what? Or Torah. I'm sorry. Shleimu. Yeah, Torah. Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of... It could have just said the God of Abraham, comma, Isaac, comma, Jacob. Why the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob? Because each one developed his own relationship with God. Because Sarah is not the same as Rivka. Sarah is not Rebecca. Rebecca had her style of serving God, and Rachel had her style of serving God, and Leah had her style of serving God, and they're all legitimate. Because Lech-Lecha, just be you. And I would like to suggest that the best place in the world to try to actualize this dream, this potential, maybe this directive, is here in the Holy Land. Lech-Lecha me'artzecha u'molatcha u'mibeit avicha el ha'aretz asher areka. Although, of course, people can internalize this message everywhere and anywhere, but maybe since this is the natural habitat of the Jewish nation, perhaps this is the place where Jews can express themselves best in doing what's really connected to their inner being. Lech-Lecha, the place to be Lecha, the place that you can discover who you really are, is right here in Eretz Yisrael. And perhaps that's the reason why we learn in the Gemara, Atidim kol ilanei srak shebe'eretz Yisrael sheitanu perot. You know, there are many, many trees that are barren trees, fruitless trees. We have one tradition that even the fruitless trees, even the barren trees, eventually in Israel, they're all going to bear fruit. So, I mean, that can be understood on a literal level. It's quoted in several places, including the Talmud, at the end of Tractate Ketubot, the Midrash. However, one of the commentaries suggests that maybe trees does not mean only trees literally. Maybe every person is a tree. Maybe every person is a tree. Maybe there are some trees, when you study the nature of this tree, the nature of this person, ki ha'adam, eitz hasadeh, every person is compared to a tree. You see them maybe outside of Israel, and maybe there's some trees that look like barren trees. We don't see these people producing fruit. We don't see great nachat from these people. But in Eretz Yisrael, atidim ilanei strak sheberetz Yisrael sheitanu perot. You know how many times? You know how many thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times, you see people who come from certain communities, and then they come to visit these people. People from the communities come to Eretz Yisrael, and they're astonished. They're amazed at the levels of accomplishment, because this is the land of Lech-Lecha, because this is the land where the inner soul shines, and where the inner soul does best in expressing itself. We pray that every single person, surely every person in our nation, every person in Yerushalayim, every person in Eretz Yisrael, the entire Jewish people, and ultimately the entire world, everyone should be able to fulfill the message of Lech-Lecha, of becoming yourself. And if everybody becomes themselves, then this world will be perfected to the level of Moshiach.
Amen. Why aren't more people making Aliyah? Abraham left his family, he left a decent life. It begs that question contemporarily.
Why are people not making Aliyah? We come from a school of thought that we do look at all the people who are making Aliyah. There are many people making Aliyah. Are we going to study the part of the cup that's full or part of the cup that's empty? We celebrate every single person who makes Aliyah. And we, of course, we pray that everyone should be able to join together tonight with Mashiach. I can't judge other people. I'm sure that the people who are not yet in Eretz Yisrael are doing great things in their journey of Lech-Lecha, wherever they are. They're trying to find themselves and trying to accomplish that which they feel they have to accomplish elsewhere. And hopefully the Lech-Lecha will lead them to the Haaretz HaSharareka, will lead them to Eretz Yisrael as well. And that's part of it. Shalom, bracha. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Maybe it's also a little bit easier if God comes and tells you. God tells you what is your heart. Who's going to say no?
That's a good answer. Did you hear what he said? Yaakov said, Yaakov said this. Yaakov said Abraham was told by God directly to go to Israel. I'm sure if God would appear in any of the Jewish communities in the world. That's what Rabbi Yaakov said, right?
That was my first thought.
What?
When he said, why is that everyone making it?
In other words, if God came to any particular Jew, any particular Jewess in any community and says, go to Israel, so but you have to hear the divine message without a direct revelation. Sometimes it's more challenging. Okay, Ma'arif. Mishaberach Avotena Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivrei